Alright, this is my review for Bad Lieutenant, Port of New Orleans, starring Nicolas Cage. I guess I want to start off by saying that Nicolas Cage hasn't made a good film, for me anyway, since Lord of War, which I think was back in like 2005. That film was well made, it was well acted, it was just a pretty great film. After that, man, Nicolas Cage has been struggling, not just financially, but just the roles that he's making. Maybe they have to coincide with each other, because if you're struggling financially, maybe he's just taking any kind of role that he can get. So who knows? But you know, he did a really bad film called Bangkok Dangerous. Bangkok Dangerous. That movie was pretty bad. I mean, he had a weird hairdo. Pacing was just atrocious. I think I had a few friends over, and one of them is Johanna, and she normally is the kind of girl that likes to talk through films. And if by any chance you happen to want to listen to what she's saying instead of watching the film, then you know you have a bad film on your hands. That's how bad that film was. Then he did a movie called The Wicker Man, which was a remake of an old horror film. That movie was just beyond atrocious. It was just horrible. After that, he did Next with Julianne Moore, and that film was it's just like I just couldn't believe what I was watching on screen. It's just like I almost couldn't finish that film. That's how bad that one was. It was worse than Bangkok Dangerous. So as you can see, this guy's had a slew of bad hairstyles in all kinds of different films, and just bad roles and just bad films. And which brings me now to the film that I'm reviewing, Bad Lieutenant. I believe it's a remake of, based off a remake of a movie with Harvey Keitel, which I've never seen before, but I hear it's a lot better than this, now that I've watched this. So what's my beef with this film? Well, I'll tell you what I like about it. Nicolas Cage. I think his performance, what he brought to the table, is just as good as what he did in Lord of War. It was just as good. Not as good, but it was close, I guess. Great acting by his part. He came to work. It looks like he gave 110% on this role. But the fault of this film has to go to the guy who made the film. I think he's a German guy by the name of Werner Herzog, director. Just horrible film. This guy just doesn't know how to direct the film. One of the things I didn't like about this film is it wasn't a cohesive storytelling. You know, it's just the director will actually stop a scene and in this film to show you a reptile. And Nicolas Cage at one point acknowledges the reptile and begins to look at it. And literally we're looking at this reptile for about 1.5 to 2 minutes, with just the camera is observing the iguana. And it's just annoying because we have a story to tell. The film's 2 hours. This film could have been cut down to 1.5 hours easily, and it would have been a much better film. So that's one scene. We're looking at this iguana for a while, and I'm looking at myself, I'm saying, man, if I want to see animals, I would just watch the Animal Planet in HD. I mean, why am I watching this? There's another scene where the director does this, and there's a scene where an alligator's been hit by a four-wheeler, and it's just laid out. I mean, at one point I think the leg is kind of moving or something, and the director decides to stop going with the story and focus on this dead alligator, and we're looking at it for about another 2 minutes. When you think you haven't had enough of just a dead alligator, he has to show us a live alligator by a ditch looking at his friend squashed on the ground. And I'm telling myself, what are we watching? You know, like, what am I watching here? And it's just really bad, man. And had those scenes not been in it, had the pacing been much better, had this film been cut down to about 1 hour and 30 minutes, it actually would have been really good. This film reminds me a lot of Training Day. You have Denzel, who is like this corrupt cop, and we're trying to figure out, is he all corrupt and whatnot, and where does he stand? And then you got Nicolas Cage in this film, and that's the whole point of the film. We don't know if he's like if he's an anti-hero. We don't know if he's a good guy, he's a bad guy, because he does good things, he does a lot of bad things. So I think the whole film, that's the whole point of the film, really, you know, and it just fails. And like I said, it's not Nicolas Cage's fault. He actually does a really good job. But when the storytelling's not done well, I mean, you could have the best actors performing to their top A game. It doesn't matter. If the guy who's editing this thing isn't doing a good job, you're gonna have a bad film on your hands. And that's what this film is. It's not the worst film I've ever seen, obviously. I'd give it maybe 2.5 stars. And I would even say, just give it a rent. But I'm hoping that Nicolas Cage, especially Val Kilmer, he's in this film. Val Kilmer's in this film, and it's just, he's like a bit character, and it's horrible. He's got a weird hairdo. He just has no point in this film. He's just horrible in it. Then you have a rapper, and I hate when rappers turn actors, because sometimes this doesn't work out. Sometimes it does, I guess, but in this case they have Exhibit. You know, the guy from Pimp My Ride. He's horrible in this film. It's like, I would tell myself, why doesn't this guy just go back to Pimp My Ride, because this is horrible. I mean, his acting was horrible in it. And you got Eva Mendes. You know, she wasn't too bad. You know, she looked good in it. You know, she's a solid actress. She didn't do great. She didn't do bad. She was okay. You know. So you had some actors in here that were doing pretty good work, but it just didn't matter because the story suffered. And so that's pretty much it. That's all I want to say about this film. I definitely want to check out the remake with Harvey Keitel. I'm curious to see how that film differs from this one. And that's it. I say give it a rent. If not, just skip it. Alright, that's it.